اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وظللها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء بأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي عدا له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحتك العصام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لكل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنعني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلحمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضعا متذللا خاشعا تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضعا قانم وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت طاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعزم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عزم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وزهر عمرك وغلب قهرك وجلت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عمل القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرعت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لمنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فاضح من البلاء قلت وكم من نصار وقيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من صناع جميل لست أحلا له نشرت. اللهم أزم بلائي وعفرت بسوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وهبسني عن نفعي بعد مالي وخدتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعلي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجحالتي وقسرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رعوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي ورب من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتعبت في هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تضييع عدوي فغرني بما هو وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك وفلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي في قضاءك وألزمني حكمك وبلاغك وقد آتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا ومقرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري. وفكني من شدي وساقي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لاقتضاء كرمك وصالفي برك يا إلهي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك فبعد ما أنتم عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج بلساني من ذكرك وأعتقد ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيهات أن تكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيته أو تشرد من عاويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيت ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي تسلط النار على وجوه قرت لعظمتك ساجدة ولا ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك ماضحة وعلى قلوبنا طرفات بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارها سعات إلى أوطان تعبدك طاية وأشارت واستغفارك مذعنة ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفا قليلا من البلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها ولأن ذلك بلاء مقرون قليلا مقسو يسير بقاه قصيرا مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وعن انتقامك وسخطك، وهذا لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الضليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما من حاز الجوع أبكي للعليم العذاب والشدة أم لطول البلاء ومدتي. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، وهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على هر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النزر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي أخوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لزجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بقاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين. يا غياث أعمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبدا مسلما سجن في بمخالفتي وذاق طعام عذابها بمعصيتي، وهبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو تضج إليك تضيج معملا لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي، فكيف يبقي في أضعاف العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تعلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرق لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوتها وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبع لهم لما عملت بالموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين يقطعوا لو لم حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد أحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك قسمت أن تملحها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا وتطولت بالإنعام متقربا، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستعون. إلهي وسيدي وأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها بالقضية التي هتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها عن حبلي في هذا الليل في هذه الساعة، كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عاملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، فبرحمتك خفيته بفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير تنزله أو إحسان تفضله أو بر تنشره أو رزق تبسطه أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيدي ناصيتي عالما بضري مسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا، وبخدمتك موصولا، وعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من عليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جواره، وأشدد العظيمة جوانه، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في اتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرع إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسان عبيدك ونسيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة من وأخسهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك وعاطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك ولحجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقل لي عسرتي واغفر ضلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لدعائي، وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من راسه ماله الرجاء، وسلاه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت وأهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا اللهم صل
اللهم صل
على
على
محمد
محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم شيخ.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Hope you're doing well. Hope you're ready. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الخطوة 27. فيا عجبا عجبا والله يميت القلب ويجلب الهم من اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم وتفرقكم عن حقكم. فقبحا لكم وترحا حين صرتم غردا يرمى يغار عليكم ولا تغيرون وتغزون ولا تغزون ويؤسى الله وترضون. In this last portion of khutbah number 27 of Nahjul Balagha, after Imam Ali began with listing the merits of putting your life on the line to defend the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then getting into specifics of a person by the name of Sufyan bin Auf al-Ghamidi, who on behalf of Muawiyah had attacked the Muslim lands when they were the most vulnerable, meaning after the Battle of Nahrawan, when the Kufans kind of let Amir al-Mu'mineen know that they're not going to really be interested in fighting anymore. After getting into those specifics, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, now he starts to, or maybe you can say continues to, scold the Kufans more and more, and pointing out certain important things in regards to them. And we can also learn a lot from this, from some of the things that he says to them that will apply to us even today. So after he's done speaking about how the Muslim lands were attacked, and how certain that the women who were Muslim and even non-Muslim but under the rule of Amir al-Mu'mineen were attacked, and they were looted and stolen of their belongings and jewelry and things like that. And Amir al-Mu'mineen said that if a Muslim person hears this and dies out of grief, it's understandable, it's justified in my eyes. Here he says, Ya ajaban ajaba. Ajab, we have this word in Urdu and in Farsi, ta'ajjub, things like that, which mean to be very, very surprised at something, to be in awe at something. Ajaban ajaba means, oh my God. Yeah. Wallahi yumitul qalb wa yajlibul ham. It kills the heart and brings about so much grief. What? The fact that, one, اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم, and two, تفرقكم عن حقكم. And this is one of those first things that maybe we need to write in gold and put it up somewhere in our homes to see this all the time. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he brings to the attention of the people something that we all know. He says, look, I am in awe, I am totally blown away at the fact that you all, when it comes to you all, you are divided when it comes to the truth that you're on, but they, the people of Muawiyah, they are united over their batil. And this is a line that we've heard a lot growing up. Yes, we've heard this. It's very famous. It's a very famous line from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He says, look, You all are on haqq, you're on the side of haqq, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing for it. So as a result, tafarruq happens. They are on the side of batil and falsehood. Falsehood has no substance. It's not supposed to bring people together, yet they are coming together over it. In one way, you can say that Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he says batil, it means dunya. When it comes to dunya, they are all together. They have a common interest of securing their dunya. But for you, when it comes to your akhirah, yeah, true, you might lose dunya over it, but you get akhirah instead. And he's talking about them fighting in the way of Allah alongside him. They're not willing to do it. And so they're divided. Some of them want to, some of them don't want to. It's not, haqq is not able to bring them together. Haqqikum, your haqq. Right? Maybe Amir al-Mu'minin here isn't even talking about the truth when it comes to Allah and Tawheed and things like that. Your haqq meaning your rights. The fact that you have the right to live safely and securely. They've taken it from you. Yet you're not willing to stand up for that haqq of yours, that right of yours. So here we can have one of two meanings that is meant by the Imam. But usually what is interpreted when what people will say when they're explaining this line is the haqq of truth versus falsehood. The fact that he said falsehood and he said truth, or said haqq here, shows that haqq means truth, the truth of Islam, the truth of the right path, the truth of Allah, the truth of Tawheed, and so on and so forth. Yes. So haqq should be enough for you to come together, yet it's not enough. I'm surprised, the Imam is saying. And in the Quran, you have the same thing, brothers and sisters. The same thing is echoed in the Quran as well. It's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He speaks in the Quran, He's surprised really that why is it that people, haqq is not enough. The fact that they are on the true path is not enough for them to get up off their backs and start working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Forget working for Allah, working for their own akhirah, which is their own future. How come is it that how come we are willing to, I include myself in this, we are willing to work for our quote unquote future, which is our jobs, which is our university and school, wherever we're going, things like that. But we don't count the akhirah as part of our future. Yeah? And because you don't practically count it as part of your future, of course, you're not going to work for it either, right? So here, that's what he's saying. He's surprised, when you know what's coming and you know what it takes to secure what is coming, yet you don't do it. That's surprising. Think about it. Their parents are like very well off, and they have set up everything for their child for success, yet that child doesn't just take the steps that he's supposed to take to actually secure that bright future. Everything's set up for you. You just have to take the steps. Others don't have these privileges. They are not blessed with something like you're blessed with, yet you're not willing to do the work. Of course, this person is going to be very regretful when they get older, right? All right, so it is something that brings about surprise in a person. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying this, like, what is wrong with you people? It really kills me how, when it comes to their batil, they are united, but then when it comes to you and haqq that you have, you're not willing to do what it takes. فَقُبْحًا. So, since this is the case with you and you're such losers really, قُبْحًا لَكُمْ وَتَرَحًا. Woe and grief befall you. Yeah? قُبْحًا لَكُمْ. Qubh means ugliness. May ugliness befall you. May ugliness be for you. Yeah. When you are when you're not deserving of it, then this is what you deserve. You deserve ugliness. You deserve hardship. You deserve grief and wailing and so on. Why? Because of what he said and because of what he's gonna say. حِينَ صِرْتُمْ غَرَدًا يُرْمَى. You have become targets that are being shot at. How much of a loser can you be? Right? For Amir al-Mu'mineen, like, this is not allowed. This is not something that is allowed, that you just sit there like a duck and you let them shoot at you. You have to do your part. Get up and run around. Get up and fight back. That's how it works in Amir al-Mu'mineen's books. He says you've become a target that's being shot at here. Now, Question. That means dhulm is being done to them. They are being oppressed, right? That's true. They are being oppressed. Amir al-Mu'mineen knows that they're being oppressed by Muawiyah attacking, right? But the thing is, there's two types of being madloom and oppressed. One time it's your fault, one time it's not your fault. When it's your fault and you can do something about it, then you're supposed to do something about it. He's not going to feel sorry for you. Even Allah is not going to feel sorry for a person who has what it takes in them to figure something out, but they don't do it and they just do dua. We have hadiths for this. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if there are some people out there who He will not answer their dua. Why? Because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing in a given scenario. Yeah, sometimes things are not in our hands. That's a different story. But if they're in our hands, then we need to do something about it. يُغَارُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَلَا تُغِيرُونَ. You're being fought against, but you don't fight back. تُغْزَوْنَ لَا تَغْزُونَ. You're being fought against, but you don't fight. Yeah, you're being attacked, you don't attack back. وَيُعْصَى اللَّهُ وَتَرْضَوْنَ. Allah is disobeyed, and you're okay with it. Yeah, because in those Muslim lands, people like Sufyan bin Auf al-Ghamidi, they were attacking and taking people's lives, taking people's wealth, spilling people's blood that they were not supposed to. And so you're hearing about all of this, but you're not doing anything about it. When you don't do anything about it, that means you're okay with it then. When you can do something about it and you don't, then that means you're okay with it. And that's a problem. فَإِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِالسَّيْرِ. Now Imam Ali alayhi salam starts speaking about himself a little bit more. And his problems with these people. He says, when I told you to get up and travel with me, to go fight them, the Shamites, Amartukum, I ordered you, bisayri ilayhim, to travel to them. Fi ayyam al-har, in the hot days. What was your answer? Qultum hadihi hamaratul qayd. These are hard words that we have. قلتم هذه حمارة القيظ أمهلنا يسبخ عنا الحر. The Imam, he says that when I told you to go in the hot days, you said that, look, this is right now it's like in the redness of the heat. O Mawla, O Imam Ali. Yeah, so أمهلنا, let us be for a while till it cools down a little bit. Okay. وَإِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِالسَّيْرِ إِلَيْهِمْ فِي الشِّتَاءِ. When I told you to go fight them in the winter. قُلْتُمْ هَذِهِ صَبَارَةُ الْقُرِّ. That you said this is the biting cold now that is inflicted on us. أَمْهِلْنَا, give us some time. يَنْسَلِخْ عَنَّا الْبَرْدِ. So that the cold clears away from us. So you always have excuses. Now, when I hear this personally, I'm thinking that they probably were coming up with excuses. It's not like really this was the problem. The problem was that they really they just didn't want to go fight. They were using the cold and the heat as an excuse. That's what comes to mind in the beginning. In other words, they're lying about the cold and the heat. But this next line shows that Amir al-Mu'mineen knows that this was their actual reason. Like they really didn't want to go because the cold and the heat was actually bothering them. Right? Forget about whether they wanted to actually fight or not. It's not even about that. Before even any of that, it's just that they're uncomfortable. Right? Why? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, كُلُّ هَذَا فِرَارًا مِنَ الْحَرِّ وَالْقُرِّ. That you were saying all of this, you people, you Kufans, you were saying all of this because you wanted to get away from and avoid the heat and the cold. It's interesting. He doesn't say كل هذا فرارا من الحرب من القتال. He doesn't say that. You were saying all of this because you wanted to get away from fighting. He doesn't say it like that. He says you actually wanted to get away from the heat and the cold. But there's a problem here. What's that problem? فَإِذَا كُنْتُم مِّنَ الْحَرِّ وَالْقُرِّ تَفِرُّونَ. If you're actually fleeing from the heat and the cold, فَأَنْتُمْ وَاللَّهِ مِنَ السَّيْفِ أَفْهَرُّ. That you will probably run away even more from the sword. So what's going on here? In a nutshell, Amir al-Mu'mineen, it seems, based on the wording, is acknowledging that they do have a real problem with heat and cold. He's upset that they have a problem with the heat and the cold. He's saying, look, who cares if it's hot? Who cares if it's cold? We have to get the job done. But if you're this weak when it comes to the heat and the cold, then for sure you're going to run away even more when you see the swords coming down on you, right? So it's not that he's calling them out on a lie. He's calling them out on weakness that they had. That's what he's doing. Just like Bani Israel, um, or excuse me, not Bani Israel, just like, we have a verse in the Quran for this, Surah Tawbah, verse 81. It's interesting. We'll get to Bani Israel later. But here, the Quran kind of points out this heat and cold as well. It says that the kuffar and the munafiqeen and the hypocrites would say, when it was time for battle, they would tell the people around the Prophet, "La tanfiru fil har," don't go fight in the heat. What is Allah's answer? If Amir al-Mu'mineen calls them out on their weakness, look at how Allah calls them out. قُلْ نَارُ جَهَنَّمُ قُلْ نَارُ جَهَنَّمَ أَشَدُّ حَرًّا لَوْ كَانُوا يَفْقَهُونَ. Tell these people, now that it's your responsibility to go and fight, and you're saying the heat is an issue, well, just letting you know that the heat of Jahannam and the hellfire is more. You choose between these two. Which brings us to an important point here, that, brothers and sisters, I mean, nowadays, we don't have Amir al-Mu'mineen amongst us. And with that doesn't come the baggage that Amir al-Mu'mineen would come with. Back then, Amir al-Mu'mineen had a huge expectation of the Kufans, that they're going to go and fight whenever he wants them to go and fight, because they were in such a situation. We don't have Amir al-Mu'mineen amongst us today. He's not calling us to fight necessarily, but Amir al-Mu'mineen's words and teachings are there. The Prophet's words and teachings are there. The Quran's words and teachings are there. We can't be weak when it comes to living up to our Islamic responsibilities in this day and age. I mean, we can't have a youth that's 25 years old still shouting at his parents. We can't have that. If that person's going to say, but like, you don't understand, the anger builds up so much that I'm just blowing up from inside, the answer will be, well, there are going to be bigger explosions in Jahannam. Which one do you want to take? Yeah, which one do you want? You can't disrespect your parents just because you get angry, or disrespect a brother or a sister just because you get angry, or spread things that you've heard about somebody, yeah, just because you heard it from somebody and you're not sure though. You can't do that. These things aren't acceptable. But you have no idea. No, 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 no. No, no. Just like the people of Amir al-Mu'mineen's time, they're like, the heat, you have no idea how hot it is. Well, قُلْ نَارُ جَهَنَّمْ أَشَدُّ حَرًّا. That the nar of Jahannam, the fire of Jahannam, is hotter. Yes, that's what we're here for, brothers and sisters, in this life. It's not going to be easy. What we have to remember is that we're getting it easy. It's not hard right now. People had it hard in the past. And so expectations should be higher of us to at least fulfill our religious obligations, especially if someone's living in this part of the world where they don't have to deal with certain things that others have to deal with other parts of the world. It's interesting how we will always find reasons to complain, us Muslims, us human beings. That's not even about Muslims, it's about human beings in general. All right, so the Imam, he kind of vents here and calls them out on their weakness. And so now that they are weak, the Imam has no choice but to send for people from outside of Kufa. So we have to understand once again, Kufa is a city, and there are people. It's very lively. People are living their lives. It's the city, and the people that are outside of the city, they're the ones who are usually living in hardship. And so they are the ones who are willing to usually fight. Amir al-Mu'mineen, they say, delivers this khutbah and eventually has no choice but to forget about these people of the city. So you and I, if we are people of the city too, we cannot let the luxuries of the city get to us, make us too comfortable to the point that we're not willing to live up to our harder duties, like what I said, bottling anger up, making a living, halal living, studying hard when we need to study hard, working hard when we need to work hard, spending time for the family when we need to spend time for the family, sacrifice after sacrifice. These are things that have to happen, or else we won't be any different than Bani Israel, who told Prophet Musa, "Hey, Prophet Musa, you want us to go into the promised land? Yeah, after the Nile and crossing the Nile, and after Fir'aun was destroyed and his troops were destroyed, Prophet Musa alayhi salam's people, Bani Israel, they had a responsibility to go into the promised land and to fight those evil people in there. But what did they do? They didn't. And the Quran relates that story to us. Surah Ma'idah verses 22 to 24. It says, قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوما جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا منها. They're like, hey, Prophet Musa, there are some strong people in there. We just don't want to fight them. So we're going to just wait outside, right, in the desert till they leave. Then we'll enter. فَاذْهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ. You, Musa, and your Lord, you go fight them. فَقَاتِلَا إِنَّا هَاهُنَا قَاعِدُونَ. We're going to sit here. We're not going to do anything about it. So they're telling Allah to go fight and Prophet Musa to go fight. Well, if Allah was going to intervene in these things, then there's no point in bringing humankind to earth to be tested to begin with. Allah has brought us here for a reason, for us to go through the tests and tribulations of this life. He wants to see what our reactions will be. So we really deserve Jannah, something even that maybe some of the angels can't reach, right? He really wants the greatest and the most for us. But it comes at this price of coming to the dunya. If he's going to do the tests for us, then there's no point. I don't think I need to explain this point too much. So the Bani Israel are finding excuse after excuse, right? When they're told to slaughter a baqara, a cow, they come up with they try to come up with excuses. Oh, tell us what it looks like, give us more details. They're trying to get out of it. But eventually they have to carry out that duty, but they just make it hard on themselves. And same thing here with Bani Israel. They say, we're not going to go in to fight those in the promised land. Okay, well, you know what's going to happen? The Quran says that, okay, you're going to sit here in the desert and you will be here for a long time. Yeah, 40 years. They were roaming about until all of them died, according to traditions, that they all died. And once the new generation came, they went into the promised land and they eventually deserved to live in the promised land. So it's interesting how we can get in trouble for not living up to what we need to do. It's not easy to live in the desert and dwell in the desert for 40 years. All right, so brings me back to a point that I want to make here. This responsibility that we have to try to live up to, whatever it is. Yeah, sometimes it's going to be, for example, in the time of the Prophet or the time of Imam Ali, when it's really, really sensitive times, and Islam has reached a turning point, a very pivotal point in its timeline. Yeah, Allah there is not going to compromise. When Islam and the security of Islam and the just basically, the life of Islam is on the line, Allah is going to be very hard going, right? Let's talk about the Battle of Badr, for example. When your life is in danger, it's okay to run away. But when your life's in danger versus Islam being in danger, then here you have to give preference to Islam itself. The Battle of Badr is a good example of that. We might not have too many examples of that today, but we have lots of examples in the past of cases where Islam was on the line. Islam in its entirety was on the line, maybe. For example, when Amr bin Abd Wad jumped in the trench in the Battle of Khandaq, you've all heard of this. That warrior was eventually defeated by Amir al-Mu'mineen. The Holy Prophet ﷺ has that famous line that he says, the wording is something along the lines of "Baraz al-iman kulluhu ila al-kufri kullihi." That today, al-yawm baraz al-iman kulluhu ila al-kufr kullihi. All of iman and faith is going to fight all of kufr and disbelief. Right? What was it? It was drawn one person versus another person, but the stakes were very high. And so that was a big thing that took place, and no one was willing to step up except Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam. Here in the Battle of Badr, same thing. Like all of Islam is in danger here. If the Muslimin are destroyed in this battle and defeated, Islam is probably going to be wiped out. So we have a verse, Surah Anfal, or a couple of verses, Surah Anfal verses 15 to 16. Allah makes it very clear to the Muslimin, you are not going to turn your backs and flee in this battle. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha laqitumul ladhina kafaru zahfan, fala tuwalluhumul adbar. When you meet the kuffar here and they're coming at you, do not turn your backs to them running away. You're not allowed to here. وَمَنْ يُوَلِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ دُبُرَهُ إِلَّا مُتَحَرِّفًا لِقِتَالٍ أَوْ مُتَحَيِّزًا إِلَى فِئَةٍ فَقَدْ بَاءَ بِغَضَبٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَمَأْوَاهُ جَهَنَّمُ وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. If anyone turns their back running away, this person will have to deal with the wrath of Allah. They've earned the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their abode will be Jahannam, and that is the worst place to end up. The only exception this verse makes for those who turn their backs to the enemy is if they're trying to figure something out so they can fight better, or they're trying to like retreat so they can join another group so they can be stronger, and then so they can attack all at once. Something like that, right? If it's the art of war that you're trying to, implement here, if it's a strategy that you are utilizing, other than that, no, you're not going to show them your backs and flee, right? Okay, someone might say, but at the end of the day, Islam also says, like Allah says in the Quran, that Allah yuridu bikum al-yusr wa la yuridu bikum al-usr. Allah wants ease for you. He doesn't want a hardship for you. But this is hardship, yeah. These are special, exceptional cases when Islam is on the line. Then you have to do your part. And so Amir al-Mu'mineen and the battles that happened with Muawiyah, for him, that's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. There is no compromising here. That's why he's speaking to them like this. Ya ashbah al-rijal. The khutbah continues. Wala rijal. Oh you who resemble men, when you look at the person, he's a male, biologically he's a man. But you're not men, meaning you don't have what it takes to be called a man. Once again, I can't stand it when some people will read this part of the khutbah and will call out the Kufans. How do you know you'd be any better than the Kufans? Just thank God that you didn't live in that time, because the test wasn't an easy one. Who are we kidding? Right? Alhamdulillah, we haven't really been put through such a test, because who knows if we would pass or fail. But at the end of the day, they failed this test, and the Imam is calling them out on it. You're living with an Imam, the expectations are going to be higher, the responsibility is going to be higher. Even in the times of ghaibat, these kinds of tests will still come up. So you're men physically, but your spirit, your morale, you're not men in that sense. You're not doing what a man would actually do and what is expected of a man. What you're all about is hulumul atfal wa uqulu rabbatil hijal. These are very famous lines that lots of us might have heard in the past. This ashbah al-rijal wala rijal. Yeah, and here hulum al-atfal wa uqul rabbatil hijal. Hulum al-atfal, yes, means dreams of children. This is what you're all about. Yeah, that you have the dreams of children. How do children look at things? Well, brothers and sisters, like everything that matters for them is this toy, that play, this game, and that's all. Yeah. All you're about, the Imam is saying, is the way you look at things is the way children look at things. What are their goals in life? What are their dreams? What do they aspire for and to be? That's what you all are. You don't shoot for the stars. You look. You have little insight. That's all you. That's all you're about. Little puny lives. Yeah. But they're adults. Yeah, they're adults, but they're not adults. Just like they're men, but they're not men. They're adults, but they're not really adults up here in their minds and mentality. If they were and they had a Quranic perspective on life, they would know what the priorities of life are. Since they don't, they're like children, hulum al-atfal, or like their minds are like rabbat al-hijal, uqulu rabbat al-hijal. Those girls or women here that are in those curtained canopies, it says in the translation, right? Which are getting married. Now, the translations I saw in English, they were a little different than the understanding that I have based on some of the commentators of Nahjul Balagha here. It says, and this is what I like more, I'm inclined towards this more, that look, what you're all about, number one, children, you're like children. Number two, you're like those girls who are just getting married, right, at that young age, and all they can think about is the zinats, all they can think about is their jewelry and their makeup and things like that, the flashy little stuff that's not, that is important in the beginning. They don't, a girl on her wedding night, it's not necessarily a bad thing, by the way, of course it's not, but for you to be an adult man, but to see things like that young girl who's just getting married, all she's thinking about is her wedding dress, her jewelry, her makeup, her special night, and all of that, which is fine. But when there's an expectation of you to do this kind of work for Amir al-Mu'mineen, which is to put your life on the line and fight, but you're looking at things like that young girl that's about to get married, yeah, and that's all that matters to you right now, the flashy stuff and those adornments of this life, then in Imam Ali's books, you're not a man. Yeah. So he is likening these people to children and to those young girls that are getting married. Yes. All right. وَعُقُولُ رَبَّاتِ الرِّجَالِ لَوَدِدْتُ. Okay, so if this is how horrible these people are, okay, if this is how horrible they are, Imam Ali doesn't want to have anything to do with them. And that's why he says, لَوَدِدْتُ أَنِّي لَمْ أَرَكُمْ وَلَمْ أَعْرِفْكُمْ مَعْرِفَةً وَاللَّهِ جَرَّتْ نَدَمًا وَأَعْقَبَتْ سَدَمًا. Like this, what he says here, what the Imam says here, is a little scary because he says, I wish I had never seen you and I had never known you, O Kufans. Yeah. This knowing you, yeah, which brings about regret and brings about grief and sorrow. That's what it's all about. Sometimes you have never seen somebody, okay, that's cool. Sometimes you see somebody, right, but you don't get to know them. Here, Amir al-Mu'minin, he's saying that Amir al-Mu'minin is saying this, saying, I wish I hadn't seen you, or even if I had seen you, I had never gotten to know you, so that I won't have to rely on you. That's how bad you are, right? So seeing isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you see somebody, you get to know them. He says, I wish I had never seen you, or even if I had seen you, I'd never gotten to know you, because knowing you brought about regret, brought about grief and sorrow, right? That's how bad these people were. But like, it's crazy because these Kufans are the same ones that eventually helped him in the Battle of Basra, the Battle of Jamal, right? And Imam Ali was very victorious there. Even in Siffin, they really helped him and they were very close to being victorious. But in the end, yeah, of course, they pulled the rug from under him and they really betrayed him when they weren't supposed to. But that wasn't all of them, right? The Kufans in general, like they had helped out, but it's just that they didn't finish the job. But for Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, who us as Shia believe that these are the representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this earth, and so Allah probably has the same expectation as they do. For them, it seems that if you don't finish the job, it's as if you didn't do anything. So he's scolding them as if they've never done anything for him. قَاتَلَكُمُ اللَّهُ, may Allah fight you. Whoa, like this is like a very heavy thing to say. And that's how angry he is at them. قَاتَلَكُمُ اللَّهُ, may Allah fight you. Fight you, O Kufans. Like Amir al-Mu'mineen should be saying this about Muawiyah. But instead, he's saying this about the Kufans. لَقَدْ مَلَأْتُمْ قَلْبِي قَيْحًا وَشَحَنْتُمْ صَدْرِي غَيْظًا. What did you do to me as your Imam or as your fourth Khalifa, whatever you want to say? You filled my heart with pus and blood and things like that. In Farsi, that's how you say it. There's an expression for that. Dilam ra khun kardin. You filled my heart with blood. When you stab someone in the heart, that's when blood will gush out and cover everything, right? وَشَحَنْتُمْ صَدْرِي غَيْظًا. You filled my chest with anger and wrath. وَجَرَّعْتُمُونِي نُغَبَ التَّهْمَامِ. You made me drink mouthful after mouthful of grief, right? When you put gulp after gulp of something, of a liquid in someone, you stuff it down their throat. You stuffed down mouthful after mouthful of, and gulp after gulp of grief and sadness and sorrow. Yeah, so I think we really get the idea here. This really shows how upset Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His awliya get when a person doesn't fulfill their responsibilities, when everything's on the line and the stakes are very, very high. أَفْسَدْتُمْ عَلَيَّ رَأِيَ بِالْعِصْيَانِ وَالْخِذْلَانِ. You betrayed me, not betrayed, you deserted me and abandoned me and disobeyed me. And so really all the plans that I had, you just destroyed them. I had so many strategies and plans in place for success. I mean, as I've said, Amir al-Mu'mineen says this also in Nahjul Balagha, and I say this a lot as well. Amir al-Mu'mineen was going to fix things up. He says in Nahjul Balagha, he says, if only I'm not going to be preoccupied with all the other stuff that's going on, I will fix things. Us as Shia, we believe that 25 years that he was not Khalifa, things went off track, and he came to power to put everything back in place. He has plans. He has a lot of strategies in store for the Muslim Ummah. But because they disobeyed him and abandoned him, they destroyed all of those ideas that he had, all the strategies that he was going to implement. To the point, and this one really, you can tell, has hurt him badly. He says, to the point that لَقَدْ قَالَتْ Quraysh said about me, إِنَّ ابْنَ أَبِي طَالِبٍ رَجُلٌ شُجَاعٌ, that the son of Abu Talib, he's a very courageous person, but وَلَكِنْ لَا عِلْمَ لَهُ بِالْحَرْبِ, he doesn't have knowledge of the art of war. Wow, really? Like, this is how bad it becomes, to the point that they said that when Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred, in the mihrab, in the masjid of Kufa, people of Sham, they said, oh, we thought he didn't pray. This is the image they made of him. We have to be very careful how we talk about people. Things that we say about people, they spread in a way that they are multiplied.
Islamic viewers were still logged in. Sheikh Amin had some internet connection issues, so he's still not able to get back. So he will continue the lecture, next week. So thank you for joining.